And welcome to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. This is the recap of week 4. We have Nimmer back on the graphics. He has a really cool new graphic that he's going to show you guys today. Really glad he can make that. Really glad he's back on the graphics and it's not me messing up the show. That was great. That was so weird. I don't know, like my computer could do that at any point, so that could happen again. It's weird to me because when I saw that, I was like, I thought you had to be like on FaceTime for that to happen, and we're not on FaceTime. So I don't know how that happened or why that happened. Well, let's talk about your weekend. How was your weekend? You had a nice win for the Steelers. Nim, I'm getting a notification that our audience cannot hear you at all. Yeah, I can hear you. The audience can't hear you. Why don't I go into the injury report while you fix any audio issues you're having? We have a long injury report. It's not as long as it was the past 2 weeks, but let's just get into it. The Arizona Cardinals tight end Trey McBride, he's questionable with a concussion. If you watch that game, the play he got hit on was concerning, and he looked like it was a bad concussion. Hopefully, he'll be back by next week. If not, then you're probably looking at the week after that. We hope that everybody involved in this injury report will heal accordingly, and we are sending them our best wishes. Panthers wide receiver Adam Thielen has been put on IR with a hamstring injury. Bears wide receiver Keenan Allen missed the last game, and he is questionable with heel injury for week 4. Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper, who had a great game, first sighting in fantasy for Amari Cooper. He is now questionable for week 4. His injury is undisclosed, so we'll see where that goes. This doesn't really affect fantasy. It's a big injury, though, for the Lions. Defensive end Marcus Davenport was put on IR today with a tricep injury, so he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. Also, Lions tight end Sam Laporta is questionable with an ankle injury. He did come back in the game and play on Sunday, so hopefully that is good signs for him. Hopefully he'll be back with no hitches in his step at all, and he'll be back to the tight end he was last year. Texans wide receiver Tank Dell is questionable with the calf injury, and Joe Mixon, the running back, is also questionable with an ankle injury. He missed last week's game. Chargers wide receiver Joshua Palmer is questionable with an elbow injury, and Justin Herbert is questionable with an ankle injury. Saints Taysom Hill is questionable for week 4. Both Eagles wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, are questionable for week 4. Steelers running backs are both handling some injuries right now. Najee's doesn't sound as serious, so he sounds like he'll be good to go. Coach Tomlin said he'll be ready to rock and roll by this weekend. And Jaylen Warren, on the other hand, is questionable with a knee injury. We'll see where that one goes. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is questionable with a back injury. He had an MRI today, but it doesn't sound like It's a significant injury, so hopefully we'll see him this weekend. Commanders running back Austin Eckler is questionable with a concussion. I'm not really sure where he had that concussion. I know he returned a kick. It seemed it was either that play or a couple plays after where Eckler may have sustained a concussion. So, Nimmer, are we back?
Yes, I believe we are back. Please put
Now
in the chat.
I don't hear you.
You don't hear me now? All right. Oh my god.
I see your bars, but I can't hear you at all.
All right. Let me try something else. I'm pretty sure the audience can hear me though. Hopefully.
Please bear with us. This could be just from unplugging the microphone and plugging it back in while Nimmer was out in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I just have so many cords. That's not it. You jinxed me, Drew.
The big matchups coming up this week. We will kind of talk about it this upcoming weekend, but it starts with the Cowboys and the Giants. That's going to be an interesting matchup. There will be a lot of attention on Malik Neighbors and Trayvon Diggs. That matchup is going to be interesting. They've kind of been going back and forth with each other on social media. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I am seeing that they can hear you now, Nim, but there's a major echo, and I can't hear you. I'll just talk about this week's upcoming matchups because I want to leave some of the conversation about this past weekend for when me and Nick can actually talk.
All right, can you hear me now, Drew?
We have the Cowboys and Giants to start. Broncos at Jets. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Broncos coming off of probably what a lot of people are calling a fluke. Echo's fixed from what I hear, Nim.
Okay.
I still can't hear you, though.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I don't, and they can hear me too. All right. I love technology.
Okay. Man, I was wondering how long I was going to be.
I know. You stalled really well. Good job. Oh, my God.
I was about to go through all the games and maybe twice go back over them again.
The worst thing is that you're like, all right, I know it's just hard when you don't know exactly what the problem is, and then you have to just check everything.
Yeah,
so.
I am getting confirmation that they can hear you. No echo. I can hear you. So we should be all good. We went through
the
injury report. I don't know what happened there.
No, you jinxed me. You're like, I'm so glad Nimmer's back with handling all the graphics and all that type of stuff. And then sure enough, ended up messing up.
It's not me messing up the
show.
I
know. Right? No, I'm going to have funny. Balloons just popping up on my screen for no reason.
That's funny. Let's talk about... Oh, let's go through your weekend again. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
I figured that they heard you, but they didn't hear you. So
yeah,
let's talk about your weekend. How did it go?
No, it was a really good football weekend. 3 things would need to occur in order for me to have a great football weekend. Steelers win, which they did. All my teams in fantasy win, which I have 4. So even if it's going to be hard to get all 4 wins, but I did this week. And in our league, in me and Drew's league, I ended up getting top scorer. So I got $10 today. I think I had like 190 points or something like that. So my team really popped off this week. And then third and last thing, all my bets hit. They obviously not all of them hit, but I ended up like pretty much breaking even. So breaking even in gambling is always a win. So I had a really good weekend. We ended up painting outside of football, we ended up painting our guest room. So going in there, we made it a lot brighter. So yeah, it was that. Well, how was your weekend, Drew?
It was a great weekend. I got my first win in fantasy, so I'm no longer defeated. I am actually still defeated in my Tucson league. I'm 0-3, so that sucks. Starting a podcast and being 0-3 in a league
Yeah.
but that's whatever.
We got so
um,
much shit.
yeah. But it was nice because I got my first win in fantasy. My Colorado, the Buffaloes, they won. That was a really exciting game. If anyone got a chance to watch that game, that was a great game. Travis Hunter, that guy's got to be the Heisman favorite. I think he's like third or fourth place right now in odds. He has to be
What?
number one. I don't understand that.
The only
But
reason I can see
he,
him not winning is that if Colorado doesn't do well record wise.
I get that. But to me, there should be an exception for this guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's doing so many things, even if it's a bad team. Like, he should be in the running for the Heisman. He should be one of the finalists at least.
Yeah, definitely. I think I saw there he's playing like 100 and something plays. It's insane.
Yeah, he has insane stats.
Do you think
all
that he will
over the board.
Do you think he'll go the wide receiver route when he goes to the NFL or the cornerback route when he goes to the NFL?
That's a great question. I tend to think he's gonna. To me, when I watch him play, I think it looks more natural when he's playing corner.
Mm.
But I could see him going receiver just because they get paid more.
Yeah.
So that'll be a decision he'll have to make. To me, I think he could start at corner, and hopefully you could put like packages together for him on offense, and that would bump up his price range as a corner too.
Mm-hmm.
He would probably reset the market as a corner doing that. So I would hope he goes to the corner. I'm hoping that he's there for the Broncos and we can have PS2
Ooh.
and Travis Hunter together. That would be sick.
That
but
would be crazy.
a lot of things would have to go right for that to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he should go corner. I think he will play corner and get some snaps on offense and have some cool plays that he can run, like end arounds and jet sweeps and things like that, screen passes.
No, yeah.
He's athletic
I can see
enough
that.
to do both, but I know like Cam Newton talked about this. He was like, so imagine this, Travis Hunter, he is starting, like, let's say he's starting at wide receiver and corner. Say you get the ball on offense and you're playing Miami, the Dolphins. So you're going up against Jalen Ramsey, and then now the ball's turned over and you got to guard Tyreek Hill. Like, that's not probably feasible
That would
on the
be
body.
insane.
That's gonna be way that's a way different game than in college when you're seeing guys that are like Colorado State. Like, there's not a ton of pros there. So
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. Or he'll be like Dion, where if somebody gets hurt, then he'll fill in type of thing. Because that's essentially how Dion became a wide receiver. When I don't know. But I got a new jersey. So I know it's 18. I'm sure a lot of the viewers thought this was Deontay Johnson, but it's not. So it's number 18, and
is that your last name? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
The Steelers sent it to me. They saw the pod and they sent it to me. Just joking. Have you ever seen the streamers that are like, "Oh, thanks so much for the Steelers for it," and they have like they're like, "Nah, you bought that." There's no way that they would ever send you
that. Let's talk about the Pick'em League. This was very surprising. Sammy, her birthday here is coming up on Thursday, the 26th. Her first start of her birthday week, she is now the number one undisputed in our Pick'em League. She is up one game.
Damn. Good shit, Sam.
And she actually called the upset of the Vikings and Texans, and I was like, I don't know about that. She was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and she did it, and she got it. So that
Damn. See, this is what
that was
happened
a great
is
call.
all of us in that group accumulatively knew it was Sammy's birthday coming up. So we like wanted her to be number one on her birthday, and then after her birthday, then we'll actually start trying, and then she's gonna end up,
I mean,
dwindling down.
I'm
I'm
number
just
6 or
joking.
whatever, so
No, I'm just
I'm
joking.
gonna have to get a lot right. And I'm actually number 1 in the ATS. We'll get into that tomorrow,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I went
Insane.
up in that, so that is pretty cool.
Well,
But happy
good job,
birthday,
Sammy.
Sammy!
Nice.
29. It's gonna be a great year. Last year of your 20s, we'll spend it together. That will be a great year.
Oh, that was sweet. Happy birthday, Sammy.
Let's talk about week 3. So, man, a lot of things happened. The Steelers, Vikings, Seahawks, Chiefs remain undefeated. You had so many different things go down. Andy Dalton and the Panthers beat up on the Raiders, beat them 36-22. Looked like a completely different team with Andy Dalton calling the plays. 49ers lose last second to the Rams. That was a very interesting game. Steelers go out there and beat the Chargers. I think they would have beat them with Justin Herbert starting the entire game or not. The Ravens were up big on the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys kind of came back, and the Ravens escaped out of there. It was a way closer game than I thought it was going to be when I saw the score 21-6 in the second quarter. I thought it was just going to keep going from there. Broncos upset the Buccaneers. I don't know how that happened. When we looked at like the ATS, the percent of people that pick the Buccaneers, I think was 98%, and 2% picked the Broncos. So that was probably the biggest upset of the weekend. Saints and Eagles had a very close game. Eagles pulled it out at the last second. That was a really entertaining game. The Bills destroyed the Jags. That Jaguars offense looks terrible. I don't know what they're going to do. And the Bengals start the season 0-3. So, Nimmer, what is your take on the weekend? What was the most surprising, and what did you like seeing?
Yeah, honestly, I was more surprised about the many blowouts, and it wasn't even the blowouts that we thought that were gonna happen. Like the Broncos blowing out the Bucks, we thought it was gonna be the other way around. The Vikings blowing out the Texans, we thought it was gonna be the other way around. Even the Raiders, we thought. We didn't think Andy Dalton really had it in him. We didn't think it was going to be that big of a change just because that team needs so many more pieces. But we were wrong. We were wrong in that aspect as well. And we thought if the Raiders beat the Ravens, they're definitely going to beat the Panthers. Ended up not happening. So I think, but my biggest surprise was probably the Vikings. The fact that the people have put the Texans the second best team in the NFL, not even just the AFC, just the whole NFL, and the Vikings just completely held C.J. Stroud to 7 points. Like that's crazy. They said that was his worst NFL start of all time. Throughout his whole entire career. So I thought that was the biggest surprise of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's 2 weeks in a row. You had Brock Purdy last week, who looked like he was seeing ghosts against the Vikings.
Yeah.
And you had CJ Stroud, who we're all kind of considering one of the top quarterbacks in the league, who looked rather pedestrian against the Vikings defense. This Vikings defense, I think, is starting to really turn people's heads. In fantasy, they're the number 1 defense right now. They're getting to the quarterback. They're making turnovers happen, and their defensive scheme is one of the most confusing in the league.
Do you think that Brian Flores, who is the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, for the viewers that don't know, do you think he's going to get a head coaching job after this?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good candidate. I think there will be a little bit of hesitation because of the whole Tua thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened there. Maybe not, though. Maybe someone will give him a chance. I think he deserves a chance. Really, with the Dolphins, they didn't look really like terrible with him. They looked like they were trying to get it together, and then all of a sudden that whole lawsuit happened, and they let him go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm noticing them the boxes are not
Yeah,
spinning.
I honestly didn't want to touch them because the audio,
That's fine.
I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
fine.
I mean, I don't even know how you said you refreshed it, so I don't know how you did that, but I mean, I can go
That's
like
fine.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I some when those stop working, I'm like, all right,
Yeah, I mean, might as well just leave it.
yeah.
Let's talk about the Steelers really quick.
Mm.
So, watching that game, I think I took a lot away from that game. I think Nim, you're gonna like this take, and I think the people that I work with, my wife, she's a Steelers fan. They're gonna like the things
Oh
I have to
yeah.
say about the Steelers. Um, this Steelers team is for real, and I think we're gonna have to really start putting some respect on their name because they're playing that defense that we've seen from years past from the Steelers, but they also have Justin Fields kind of reverting back to the Ohio State Justin Fields, where he's in the pocket more, making the right decisions, and playing really well, not turning the ball over. He had one bad throw in this last game against the Chargers, which was an interception. But other than that, I think that was the best game he's played as a Steeler so far. And I think he's only growing from here. We're only starting to see the start of what could be the future for the Steelers. And I believe that is Justin Fields. Um, their defense, if we want to highlight them really quick, right now they're first in points allowed per game, first in yards allowed per game, fifth defending the pass, second against the run, fourth in interceptions, 10th in sacks. So they're in top 10 statistics all over the board on defense. And they're on offense, they are second in time of possession per game, which is a huge stat in football. If you're keeping the ball away from the other team and you're playing really good defense, controlling the game, that's pretty much exactly what they're doing right now. And I think there's some people that are saying like they haven't played a good team yet. This Chargers team was a good team. Joe Alt, we were saying maybe there's a chance he holds down TJ Watt. He didn't really stand a chance against TJ Watt. The defense looks really good. The linebackers look really good. Everything looks really in unison for the Steelers. I think we're going to have to start taking this team serious. In my opinion, they're the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs right now. If they get into a game in the playoffs and you have this defense, if everyone stays healthy, say TJ Watt stays healthy and this defense is intact, they're going to be a problem. They're going to make things very difficult for the Chiefs. And I know Nim probably loves hearing that.
Oh
But
yeah.
I truly believe they are a serious threat in the AFC right now.
I mean, I tried warning you guys. We're going to the Super Bowl. No. But the thing is that in the beginning of the year, we knew the schedule is a lot easier than the back half. Well, I guess now with the Ravens in Cleveland sucking, Ravens sucking, and the Cincinnati sucking, like we don't have that hard of a division anymore. But from the beginning, the formula really was as long as the quarterback doesn't turn it over, and our defense is going to just keep us in the game. We're not going to win it's not going to be pretty. We're probably not going to win by 2 touchdowns. We're not going to blow anybody out. But what's going to happen is that we're going to control the possession and our defense is going to keep us in the game. Like that's how we won the last 2 Super Bowls, is that we had the best defense in the NFL. Us and the Ravens were the top 2 defenses in the NFL. And then we just needed a quarterback not to throw interceptions or not fumble and not make stupid decisions. So and especially with Arthur Smith's offense, I think that is a huge piece. having Justin Fields is a huge piece. And then I mean, even with Russell Wilson, I don't know. I was hesitant when we got Russell. I was like, okay, I guess that's a good addition. But the fact that we have Justin Fields and he's young, like he got drafted in 2023, so this is
This has got to be
his
this has got to be the worst scenario possible for Russ
yeah, definitely.
because he's got 1 year with the Steelers. Looks like they're not going to play him at all.
Yeah,
He'll probably go on to another team next year, have to learn a new playbook, and his pride's going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to be a starter." I think it's going to be really bad
yeah.
to the next team he goes to, and he's going to go out sad in this league. I think this is the worst scenario possible for him.
Honestly, if I was him, I would want to go to the Dolphins. I think him and the Dolphins wouldn't be a bad option because that team
Yeah.
really only needs a quarterback, right? The defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
They have good receivers. They have a good running back. I mean, granted, he loves Pittsburgh and he wears eye black and probably sleeps with his shoulder pads and stuff like that. But like, I do feel bad for him. And what's gonna happen is that he's gonna like start against like the Cowboys or the Ravens. You know what I mean? And you're like, all right, well, you wanted to start, here you go. And then his opponent is a lot tougher than than the Broncos or anything like that. But
Yeah, I mean, he's questionable for week 4. So who do the Steelers play next?
we play I should know this.
I just saw it.
I know, me too. God, who do we play next?
I was just looking at the games too. Colts.
Thank you.
You would
I
think
should know that.
the Steelers are going to win that game with how Anthony Richardson's looking. By the way, that hot take that I had about Anthony Richardson being your QB1, I know that was like the craziest hot take that we had so far on the show. Someone might be right on that. Just saying.
Yeah. He looked so bad. I saw a graphic where it was like a bullseye, and it was Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson, and the balls are going everywhere besides the freaking bullseye. So
he's completing less than half of his passes right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which is pretty unacceptable in the NFL. That's not good. I think he'll improve, but it is interesting because he looked really good last year for the games that like every single game he played in, he looked like he had an impact on the game.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case this year.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a shoulder injury or he's just thinking too much, or I mean, I don't know. The coaching didn't change. The coaching scheme and all that didn't change. The receivers didn't change. The running back didn't change. O-line, I don't think changed. Like, it's just weird.
He has a pretty good supporting cast around him too. I think a lot of people would take that supporting cast. You think Jonathan Taylor, the offensive line is pretty good. Pittman is, to me, he's a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
But they have a good group of receivers that can make some plays. So you would think that things are going to improve for the Colts, but it's looking pretty dark right now for the Colts and the Jags, for that matter. The Jaguars look terrible.
Yeah, and I haven't even. Well, I guess they played the Texans week 1, but then they played the Packers and then the Bears. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. That's not. They're not too.
Packers with Malik Willis, even
first
Jordan
game
Love.
too, so it wasn't even his second game. So I don't know. I think the defense definitely needs to get him be improved on, but I think Anthony Richardson just needs to settle down and just stop trying to force it. I feel like he's just trying to
do
be
too much.
A superstar and stuff like that. It's like look at Justin Fields. I mean, this is why I love Justin Fields, because he's not trying to do too much. Even if he's taking the 2-3 yard completion, if you keep doing that, that's perfect. Just don't turn the ball over. That's really all you have to do as a quarterback when you have a really good defense, at least. But
when I watch Justin Fields, I think the difference in coaching from Chicago to Pittsburgh, it's like someone, either Tomlin or Arthur Smith, is in his ear the entire game. I know you want to run right now, but look for the check down. And then
Yeah.
he looks for the check down and he passes the ball.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like towards the end of the season, maybe not, but I feel like last year he kind of started passing it a lot more than running. I remember his rookie year he ran a lot, and then he started
Yeah.
dumping it off to DJ Moore and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I think the coaching as well as the environment. I think that he just wasn't happy in Chicago. Chicago didn't want him. They didn't build a team around him or anything like that. So the fact that he's in Steelers, Steeler fans love him, and and he has a good supporting cast. Like he has a wide receiver one, a running back one, a great defense to catch him if he does make a mistake. So, and then how about Daniels last night? Jim
Oh man, he
Susie
looked so
wants
good.
to know.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bengals really quick. Let's talk about that game. That's our next topic. The Bengals start
Yeah.
the season 0-3. Another fan of the show, Jim, who's watching right now, he is a big Commanders fan, so I'm sure he'll be happy about this segment. I know he was happy about the performance last night. Let's talk about the Bengals first. So they're 0-3. The whole thing with the Bengals is they start slow. 0-2 is one story. To me, 0-3 is a whole different story. I think I saw that only 4 teams ever has made the playoffs in the history of the NFL that have started 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
So the chances are highly stacked against the Bengals. It did look like in the second half last night, their defense turned it up finally. I don't know why they waited that long, but it's like they were kind of just going through the motions in the first half, and then the second half they turned it on. How can the Bengals turn this season around? They have the personnel, you would think. They have a quarterback. A lot of teams would love Joe Burrow at quarterback, but they're 0-3. How do they turn this around, Tim?
I think they just need to finish. I mean, if you look at Joe Burrow's game last night, he threw for 300 yards, a couple TDs. I mean, the defense just needs to stop them. Just give Joe Burrow a chance and Joe Burrow is arguably the top 5 best quarterback in the league right now. Give him a chance in order to help you win the game. He had a couple chances last night, but then all of a sudden he scores a touchdown, and then Jane Daniels ends up scoring. You know what I mean? It's like you can't come back when you don't when your offense doesn't have the ball and you don't give your star quarterback the chance to show you why he's getting paid that much. I mean, he had 6 incompletions the whole entire game, and then Jaden Daniels had 2. So especially with a rookie quarterback, like you should know how to, or you should make him uncomfortable. Whenever a rookie quarterback is uncomfortable, they're not going to play to the best of their ability. But I mean, Jaden Daniels looked very comfortable yesterday. So,
and I kind of wonder if they underestimated Washington. I feel like the Bengals should have saw this coming, really, because Washington's going to want to come into Cincinnati and make you 0-3. With all the hype around the Bengals every year, you would think that the Bengals would kind of see this coming and want to get out in front early and put the game away, but they couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, they just need to work on their defense. I mean, think about the past 3 games. With Patrick Mahomes, I get it. They probably should have won if it wasn't for that pass interference, but nevertheless, they lost. Let's give them that loss. But with the Patriots, Tony Brissett, right? That's his name? The Patriots quarterback?
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett. He's first year on the Panthers. I mean, on the Patriots. You would think that in a quarterback coming into a new scheme, they need more, he didn't really play in the preseason. He needs to get the rust off things. That's a perfect time for defenses to blitz them. Like, the schemes that they're running are awful. And then so they had Jacoby Brissett and Jaden Daniels, 2 quarterbacks that are first years in their respective schemes, and you lost to them. Like, come on. And it's not even like they have a good supporting cast. They really don't have that good of a supporting cast. So that defense just needs to step up because Joe Burrow is doing almost everything he can. Like a quarterback with six incompletions, that's crazy. And he's losing.
Yeah, I heard a stat that it was the first game since 1940 where neither team punted. So that is a sign
Wow.
of very bad defense.
That's crazy.
1940, that's when Cleveland was like the Cleveland Rams, and
Mhm.
it was like a whole different. It was like 8 teams that played in total. So it's been a long, long time since that has happened in the NFL.
Yeah. And see, like, look at their offense. Like, people are trying to blame Joe Burrow, but he has what 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he went 29 for 38. Jaden Daniels went 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 out of 23. So he threw
Yeah,
more, got more yards, got one more touchdown, and then you still lose. Like, what is he supposed to do? And I mean, I'm a Steeler fan. I do not like the Bengals at all. But like, come on, you got to help your man out a little bit.
yeah, it's really interesting because I think their defense is solid. You look at the players that they have, like Pratt in the middle is a solid linebacker. Uh, Awuzie, the corner, is a solid corner.
Yeah,
They have good defensive line. Like
they just
it's
got
a
the safety from Baltimore, right?
Geno Stone. Yeah,
Geno Stone. Yeah. So
he put a pop on someone from the Washington team last night. Took the dude right off his feet.
damn. See, and like you're in the AFC North, like that is known for having good defenses and having low scoring games and all that type of stuff. But like if you look at their past three games, I mean, first game it was 16-10. So that was a low scoring game. But then the second game is 26-25. Like 20 points, and then
Yeah,
38 and 33 was last night's score. Like 30 points? That's insane.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But for Washington fans, that Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
man, he looks really good. I had a lot of negative thoughts about him coming out of the draft. He has completely proved me wrong. He looks like the real deal. The fact that on that last touchdown to McLaurin, the fact that there was only 10 men on the field for them, and he pretty much said, "Screw it, I'm going to throw it to the corner of the end zone to McLaurin." That takes some major cojones.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a throw, perfect throw, right where it needed to be. And all night, I mean, he missed 2 passes, had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was a threat running the ball too, ran in moments where they needed him to, and picked up first downs with his legs.
And
He is
that's
going to be a good
key.
quarterback for what looks like a long time.
If you get a quarterback that can run but doesn't like running, like he only runs when he needs to, that's a dangerous quarterback. But I just think it's funny that both the first round for the past 2 years, the first round quarter or the first pick quarterback, they suck, and then the second one ends up being the quarterback that they should have took. Like it's funny, but it's insane.
um, Next thing we're going to talk about, Chargers safety. This is kind of breaking news. I think it was today this news dropped. Might have been yesterday, but I think it was today. Safety Derwin James suspended for 1 game. He had a helmet to helmet hit on Steelers tight end Pat Fryermuth, and I guess Roger Goodell came knocking today and said, "We've gave you warnings for this. You're now suspended 1 game
Who are
with
they playing?
no pay." They're playing the Chiefs.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. So another weird move for the Chiefs. There's been some weird things going on to protect what seems like the golden child in Patrick Mahomes. But do you think the NFL's making like a point with this suspension? Like, hey, we don't, because this was kind of a thing last year with Kareem Jackson for the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
They suspended him twice for helmet to helmet hits. Is this the same thing with Derwin James, or is this like a textbook? We suspended you because it's the rules.
Yeah, I think it's they suspended him because of the rules, but I don't know why he got suspended because there's multiple hits that were helmet to helmet. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to do that, if you want to suspend one player for helmet to helmet, then you need to do it every single time somebody gets penalized for helmet to helmet. So, like the fact that nobody else, he's the first player that got suspended out of 3 weeks, where there's multiple times where there's been helmet to helmet. I don't know. I think it's just textbook. I think that I honestly have no idea why he got suspended, but I guess it's probably his history. That's usually why players get suspended, because if you get warnings after warnings after warnings after warnings, and you're a recurring person that is always consistently doing helmet to helmet, then you get suspended. But I don't know, if you get a warning for the first time this year, I feel like the beginning of the year you should have just a clean slate. Whatever you did in the past shouldn't roll over.
Yeah. I think they are making a statement with this. I think they were making a statement last year with Kareem Jackson. Um, this, they're both safeties. The way they play safety, where they're screaming downhill and putting their head down and hitting whatever it is, whether it's the head or the shoulder pad or the chest or whatever it is. Unfortunately, that's not going to fit in this league anymore.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that complain about that, and it sucks. But it all comes down to like the health and safety of players. I love the way Derwin James plays. But I guess the best thing for him right now is just to, not hit the head of other players. You got to aim lower, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like they should know though. You know what I mean? Like they've been. It's not like this rule has been in place just this year. I feel like, I mean, they're putting guardian caps on in practice and in the games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you should know how to tackle and you should know how to do it. I get it's a bang bang play. You're in the heat of the moment, all that type of stuff, but I mean, you got to work on your technique, especially in training camp and stuff like that. You need to learn how to hit, how to jar the ball, how to do all that type of stuff. And I mean, we used to play safety in high school, so like we trust, like we get it. But then at the same time, your times have changed. Like that was cool back in 2010 when you know James Harrison was trying to take your head off. Like that's cool, but like now you just try to tackle the dude. Don't try to knock his block off. Unfortunately, that's what the game has come to.
Yeah. Another hit that happened this week was with Devontae Smith for the Eagles. He had a play where I think this was like the third quarter of the game. I could be wrong, but he caught the ball and met two Saints players. They kind of drove him back, and they drove him back like 4 or 5 yards, and he turned around, and the D tackle from the Saints, he's a rookie. His name is Christian Boyd, came and smacked him right in the helmet, knocked his helmet off, gave him a concussion. He had to leave the game. He's now questionable for this next game. Did you see that play, Nim? Do you think it was a dirty play? There's kind of been a controversy about this play. What do you think?
I don't think it was a dirty play. I think that if you watch the game of football and you watch, I actually noticed that this week is that like the quarterback, let's say the quarterback slides and then somebody or the running back like falls down or something like that, and then they jump on top of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, or they like fall down right before the first down line, and then all of a sudden the defender comes late or something like that. I think that the way that it looked when I was watching it, that Devontae Smith was still trying to push, still trying to get out of it, and he just came in and just tried to clean up the pile. I don't think it was a dirty hit. I don't think he was meaning to take him out of the game and give him a concussion or anything like that. But I think that this might be a hot take, even though it's not that segment. I think that that's gonna that's gonna be a new rule going forward. Is that once a player gives themselves up, or if like somebody is down or going towards the ground, you cannot like land on top of them, put your shoulder in them, or anything like that. And they're gonna just be strict on that because I've seen that a lot recently, and I was like, I didn't know they like still did this. I thought the refs would have thrown a lot more flags. But yeah, I don't think it was a dirty hit. I think that he was still running and pursuing, and the play wasn't dead. And you're taught to play until you hit the till you hear the whistle. So that's kind of what he just did.
So I think I'm on the other side of this. If what I see with most players is if you get to a certain point where you're getting driven back 4 or 5 yards, that forward progression is called and the play's over, the whistle blows. I was a little surprised the whistle wasn't called yet. And even if Boyd didn't mean to hit him in the helmet, you see he's getting driven back. Devontae's not breaking that tackle. I don't know why you're going full force into that play.
Yeah, I mean I get that, but then at the same time, it just takes one person to let go, and then he just scrambles around, especially if the whistle hasn't been blown. You know what I mean? Like you might not be able to break that tackle, but you're always taught to finish the tackle. We need as many hats on the ball as possible, and that sort of thing. Should he have hit him in the head? Definitely not. But at the same time, like I don't think that that's what his intention was.
I mean, he should get fined for this, no?
Yeah, no, 100%. He should definitely get
Yeah.
fined.
If
But was it a
if
dirty hit? I don't think it was a dirty hit. Was it legal? And should he get fined? There's a penalty, right? So he should have got flagged. Like that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely. But I don't think that it was dirty or he really meant to do that. But he definitely needs to get fined. 100%.
I think it looks way worse than the hit on Freiermuth.
Really? Yeah, I can see that.
And maybe it's because Freiermuth is a bigger guy than
That's
Devontae
exactly
Smith.
what it is. Devontae Smith's like
But
a buck 50 or something like that.
yeah. But I think if we're suspending Derwin James for a game and we're finding people for helmet to helmet hits, that one qualifies as a helmet to helmet hit.
Yeah,
I would say Devontae was defenseless at that point.
I agree. I definitely think that I don't think he should get suspended, but he definitely should get fined. If this was his first offense, especially if he's a rookie and no actions have been caused, he's like, oh, all right, I'm going to keep doing this,
Yeah. That was a bad hit. That looked terrible.
And hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah. Let's get into the hot take Tuesday. So we've kind of brought this to you for the past couple Tuesdays. We're all going to give you, and I guess when I say all, just me and Nimmer are going to give our hot takes, something that we may believe in, may not believe in, that we'll talk about for this upcoming season. The next, how many games are we at?
3.
14 weeks?
Yeah, 14 more weeks.
By the way, Darian's not here tonight. He is sick. Him and his wife, I guess, caught a nasty case of the stomach flu. So we're also sending our thoughts and prayers to them for that. That sounds horrible. I've had the stomach flu before.
Yeah. Ugh. Especially the way Darian eats. No, I'm just joking.
Let's start with your hot take. What have you brought to the table?
All right. So my hot take Tuesday is that going into the season, we thought the NFC was very like top heavy. There's only 2 or 3 teams, and then the rest were kind of mediocre. Well, I think the times have changed. I think that this year the NFC is better than the AFC. If you look at the ratings, the rankings right now, the NFC has 8 winning records. The NFC has 8 winning records. The AFC has 6. The NFC doesn't have everybody in the NFC has won. We have 3 AFC teams that have not won one game yet. Here are the good teams in the NFC. We have Philly, Vikings, Packers, Lions, Saints, Bucks, Falcons, and Seattle. And then Cardinals are kind of on the fringe. That's 8. The AFC, KC, Texans, Steelers, Jets, Bills, and that's 5. So we have 8 good teams on the NFC, and then only 5 on the AFC. So I think that the NFC is going to be the new kings on the court, and I think that the AFCs there's going to be somebody that comes into the playoffs that's going to be like 8 and 9 that are barely going to make the playoffs and definitely don't belong there. So that's my hot take for today.
So my hot take, if I had to give you a percentage on how much I believe this, I probably would say 50%. My hot take is that the Bengals will clean house after this season. They will fire everybody on the coaching staff. I don't know how true that actually is. I do think there's a good chance that Zach Taylor is on the hot seat right now. I think there's a good chance the defensive coordinator is on the hot seat right now. And I think they're all looking at each other, wondering what's going to happen. This whole thing with the Bengals where the fans, I don't think the Bengals are saying it. I hope they're not saying it. I hope the players aren't saying it. But I know their fans are like, yeah, well, the Bengals start slow every year. I mean, as a fan, I would hate that. That would, like, just imagine you going into your job every day and you're like, hey, I just have a slow start to every single morning. Your boss would be like, well, guess what? Get out. Like, that would be the last day for you. So I think this belief that the Bengals just start slow, maybe we should start believing maybe this Bengals team just isn't very good. Maybe there's some dysfunction here. And it's kind of been that way for the past few years. They finished 9-8 last year. I feel like they got kind of lucky and won some close games down the stretch last year to get to that record. In my opinion, Zach Taylor, with the exception of the year that the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, isn't really that good of a coach, doesn't really run crazy schemes, in my opinion. I think there's a chance they get rid of quite a few coaches on this coaching staff, especially if this trend continues. They play the Panthers this next Sunday. So if that's even a close game, I would think there's someone is going to be in trouble. You should beat the Panthers. You should beat them very bad. And you know that Andy Dalton's going to want to be close in that game because he used to play for the Bengals and played there for quite a long time. So that's going to be another interesting game.
And they cut him on his birthday too, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Do you think that they cut him or they fire him during the season, throughout the season? Or
yeah,
do you think
it'll
wait till
depending on what the record is. Yeah, I think that's usually what happens. They fire coaches in the season. So yeah, I would say that's a possibility.
I could definitely see that. I can also see them hiring Spags. I think if
from
they
the
hire,
Chiefs?
they need
That'd
a
be
defensive
interesting.
person. We just talked about how their defense is awful, and it's not even like they're awful because they have a bunch of no names. Like they have some good players, right? So like they can't. They need a smart defensive mind to be part of that team. And he's probably the best defensive mind in the league right now. So
I wonder if he wants to actually leave, though. I feel like he probably has already had some options.
I think he wants to leave, but I think he wants to leave, but he's not gonna leave to go coach the Panthers. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna go coach a bad team and then try to do this whole rebuilding thing. But like the Bengals don't need to be rebuilt. I think that that's kind of what he was looking for. I think that he's more looking. He doesn't want to rebuild anything. He just wants to kind of go into a good system, and all they need is a coach.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bengals Darian has claimed that they're going to have this crazy hot streak from here on out, basically, because he said it was going to start last week.
Yeah, we're waiting, Darian. We're waiting.
So that's another game down for them, and it's going to have to be like a inferno streak by them to make the playoffs. That's going to be something. I mean, you never want to be 0-3 to start the season. That means you'll have one slip up, and that'll be it. Basically, if you have one slip up against a team you're favored against, that'll be it. Your season's over. So,
and looking at their schedule, they have the Panthers next week, and then the week after that they have the Ravens. Then they have the week after that they have the Giants. The week after that they have the Browns. So then you have the Giants and the Browns back to back. But then you have the Eagles, and then you have the Raiders, and then you have the Ravens, and then Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns, Broncos. So but that's the end of the season, and then Steelers to end the season. You know what I mean? So you have 4 games where 4 teams that you probably should beat, but they're at the end of the season. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they need to step on it quick.
That's not a bad schedule, really.
No, not at all. I wish we had that schedule.
Let's bring you our new segment. So this is something we've kind of discussed on the show. We were trying to think of what to call it. We came up with the name Rage Cage.
Whoa, what is that? Oh, cool. I didn't know that did that. Why is my camera? God, graphics.
But Rage Cage, this is something I would say completely inspired by Nimmer. He came in pretty hot last week with a lot of things that have kind of made him mad about the season or the NFL or whatever the case is. So we are pulling out the first ever Rage Cage. This is where we get to dump out all of our anger, talk to you about what's kind of pissing us off. So, Nim, why don't you start?
All right, yeah. So last week I was super mad with the whole Lil Wayne thing and Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. But this week, I'm really just mad at everybody. I think that I'm mad at everybody, especially Mel Kiper. I'm sure everybody's seen that video, that viral video where he went on air and said that that the league should step in and they should ban cover 2.
Well, he said that they should take away 2 high safety looks.
Yeah, sorry, 2 high safety looks. So, and the safeties have to stay in one spot. And that, everybody that knows anything kind of about football knows that's ridiculous. But that kind of brought me into this thought that as fans, we always want a high scoring game. We always want our players to do good, and that's because of fantasy, that's because of bets, and that's because of, just all of it. It is more entertaining. But at the same time, we're handicapping the defense in order for that to happen. And then what's happening in the first 4 weeks is we're saying, oh, this player sucks, this player sucks, this player sucks. It's like, why can't we put credit more towards the defense? Why are we so negative about the player who's not performing? Well, he's not performing because the defense is doing really, really well. So, for example, the Vikings. When they beat the Niners, it was like, oh, Brock Purdy sucks, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, the Vikings are just that good. The Vikings defense are just that good. So as fans, we need to go back into 2010 with Ray Lewis, Troy Polamalu, with those type of players, defensive players, and enjoy the defensive games. Enjoy the chess matches between the defense and the offense. Not just oh, this team can't score, this is a boring game. Enjoy the other side of the ball. Enjoy the defensive side of the ball where they're tackling, where they're breaking up plays, where they're all that type of stuff. So that's my Rage Cage moment, is just fans in general just getting so mad at, I mean, myself included. My team first week completely I'm trying to think of the word, not messed up the bed, just had low points. I gave up on that expression. had really low points. I was like, well, my team sucks. It's like, no, your team doesn't suck. Just the defense is really, really good. Unless, they're dropping balls and they actually do suck. But I'm just saying in general, like, let's enjoy the defensive side of the game, not just the offensive side.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. That Mel Kiper take was crazy. I know that
So stupid. Fucking Mel Kiper.
someone
Fucking dumbass.
someone from the Chiefs, I think it was either
No,
like
the
their
Chargers. Wasn't it
was it the
the
Chargers?
person that just got? Are you talking about the guys like, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, were you talking about that
Someone
clip?
like completely trashed him on Twitter. They're
Oh
like,
yeah,
this
no,
is
it wasn't that
why
guy.
they're like you they're like your career was making terrible takes on every draft, and this is why you should just stick to that because you suck at talking about real football.
Oh, I didn't
It
see
was like
that. That's
it was like I
crazy.
think it was someone from the Chiefs. I think it was like the left tackle from the Chiefs or something.
It's fucking
Something
idiot,
like
man.
that.
Just fucking
That was such a
stupid.
crazy take. I saw that. I was like, what is this guy talking
And
about?
and he gets paid millions of dollars to watch football games and analyze football games. You fucking idiot. God, that pissed me off as well. But then it made me think. Like everybody on the internet kind of just called him an idiot, so I didn't want to just call him an idiot. But like, I feel like
He
we
tends to piss
do.
a lot of people off
Yeah, exactly. He's just a fucking dumbass. But
because he talks about the draft. And I feel like when me and Darian will give a breakdown on the upcoming draft this year, I think you'll be getting a lot more factual information than you will listening to Mel Kiper. And I'm just saying that straight up.
you know my favorite thing about I didn't even know about Mel Kiper until the Pat McAfee show brought in Mad Mel, and that
Yeah.
like I was like, what? Who are they trying to imitate? And then I looked at it. I looked him up. This guy's a fucking idiot. I don't know how he got a job. Honestly, like I
He's
don't
been doing
know.
it for a long time.
I know. I don't know who hired him. I don't know what the fuck happened, but I mean, shit. Mickey
Let's
knows more
talk
football
about
than fucking him. Mickey's my dog.
let's
For the
talk
people
about
that don't know. Sorry, guys.
oh,
What's
okay. I
your
thought you
rage
were
cage
referring
moment?
to Mickey Mouse.
Oh well, he probably does too.
But my rage cage moment, this goes for the Chiefs game. So the past two games, I feel like I've been complaining about these calls for the Chiefs. This last one, I feel like was probably the most obvious call. That was the missed pass interference call on Kyle Pitts that would have put Atlanta up in that game. I am shocked they didn't call that. I think if it was the other way around and that was Travis Kelce, that would have been a call 10 times out of 10. I was completely blown away. They didn't call pass interference on that. If that's not pass interference, I don't know what is. And it's starting to look like pretty weird, like this protection of the Chiefs. I get it, like the NFL is getting a bunch of money from them, but like come on. Like that was an obvious pass interference call. Anyone watching or listening right now, go back and watch the replay of that play, the Kyle Pitts missed pass interference call. I'm sure it's the first thing you'll see on YouTube. It was such a bad blown missed call. The safety is pretty much hugging him, not looking at the quarterback at all, and hugging Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts is trying to reach over him to catch the ball. And obviously it wasn't caught, and they didn't call anything, and the game pretty much was over
Well, there's
after
two
that.
too, like literally on the same player. When he first got engaged with him, he held him, and then he got pass interference as well. It's like they didn't call any of those.
And another thing about that game, I guess this is more on the Falcons. Falcons owner Arthur Blank inducts himself into the Falcons Ring of Honor. What is that? And for what? Let's think about Arthur Blank. What has he done? He managed a team with the biggest choke job in history with the 28-3 comeback against the Patriots. That's his claim to fame. I mean, what has he done to be in the Ring of Honor? And I don't really mind him being in the Ring of Honor, but to induct yourself, I mean, that's like a complete Jerry Jones move. Like, that is embarrassing. I feel like you should have gotten to the point where you're close to retiring and have someone in your family start speaking out about you being in the Ring of Honor, having this, if you watched the halftime show of that game, they had every single cheerleader out there. They made a column for him. They put a stage in the middle of the field. He walked down midfield, got on the stage, and inducted himself into the Ring of Honor. It was so ridiculous. And my question is, for what? What are we inducting you into this Ring of Honor for? You've done nothing. And I have one more, actually. Cam Taylor-Britt for the Bengals. You've been pissing me off. You talked crap about Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs, saying, yeah, Xavier Worthy can run straight really well. They ended up beating you. And then before the Washington game, quote unquote, you said it's a nice, simple college offense for Washington. He said all they do is throw short to intermediate routes, and there's really nothing special coming out of Jayden Daniels. And guess what? Jayden Daniels was bombing it all over your defense that entire game. So if I was the Bengals, I would go right to Cam Taylor-Britt and say, maybe let's not rile up the teams we're about to play. Maybe talk trash after the game when we win. Because at this point, it looks like you're not going to be talking a lot of crap all year if that was the rule. You're 0-3. I think I would point a lot of fingers at you, Cam Taylor-Britt, for the things you've been saying. That thing you said about Jayden Daniels, you look like a donkey right now. You look terrible because he threw it all over your defense. Even if it wasn't on you, he missed 2 passes all night. 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is that a simple college offense, Cam Taylor-Britt? Why couldn't you stop it if it was a simple college offense, if all he's doing out there is throwing layups?
And they won. So it's like, I understand if, all right, yeah, he did all that and then you lost, but I mean, and then he lost, but he won. So you're talking shit and you haven't won one game. Shut the fuck up and fucking buckle in and fucking win a game. Fucking idiot.
Yes.
God damn.
But we will go to a break. That was our first ever Rage Caged. We hope you enjoyed it. It'll be a reoccurring segment on the show. I wish Darian was here for it because I think that would have been fun.
That would have been fun.
But
next week.
let's go to break. We will see you guys in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media accounts. We're on X, Instagram, TikTok, and right here on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribing, liking, following. Tell your friends about us, tell your league mates about us. We are getting into the fantasy portion of our show. We will start with the waiver wire ads. I know we missed this last week. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the show, talking about people on the waiver wire and who to add. Nimmer, I will start with you. Why don't you give some names? And this will just kind of be a conversation. Who do you think are good pickups in the waiver wire right now?
So, I mean, granted, this wasn't a good game really to watch, but if you look at the Raiders game, Zaire White didn't really get a lot of carries. I think that Alexander Madison would be a pretty good pickup if you are lacking in running backs. I don't think that he's going to really pop off for like 30 points or anything like that, but I think he's going to take, I think it's going to be more of a committee. I think he's going to be more of a goal line threat. I think it's going to be more like maybe Gibbs and Montgomery, just worse. Like worse personnel, but I think that I think that Alexander Madison would be a good one, as well as Tutu Atwell. I think that Tutu Atwell, if you look at the Rams receiving core, Tutu Atwell is the only one that has caught a ball from Stafford before this season. So I think that chemistry is still there, and you kind of saw it in this past game. So that would be my running back and receiver, and we'll talk about defense later.
Okay, so I have quite a few names for you. I'm trying to look out for all the people in all different sorts of leagues. If you're in a 10 man, 12 man, 14 man, hopefully some of these guys will be on the waiver wire for you and you can pick them up. For quarterbacks, I would take a look at Sam Darnold. He's been playing well. If you're in a situation where you need a quarterback, say you're in a situation like me and Jordan Love is hurt and that's your starting quarterback, that's a good alternative. Geno Smith has kind of been a solid fantasy quarterback for a while now. He's available on a lot of leagues. I would pick him up if you kind of want like an insurance option or if you need a starter. He's a very solid option. I can't believe I'm saying this. Daniel Jones, though, he, for the past 2 games, has kind of picked it up in fantasy. I think it's worth a shot. Maybe not to be your quarterback 1, but if your quarterback 2 is struggling, I think it's worth a shot to maybe pick up Daniel Jones and put him there. I'd also say Andy Dalton. He looked really good this past game. He might be someone you want to pick up. Running backs, Cam Akers for the Texans. He played in place of Mixon last week. Mixon is also questionable for this game coming up. I would take a look at Cam Akers. He could be someone you plug in maybe at a flex spot and play.
I think
Bucky
he's
Irving.
hurt, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
I believe so. Just don't want to give people. Oh no, I don't know why I thought he was hurt. My bad. My bad. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving for Tampa Bay. He is looking really good. He looks like maybe one of the more explosive players on that Buccaneers offense. I know there's a lot of noise about, from Buccaneers fans that maybe he should be the starter. That's probably not going to happen. Maybe towards the tail end, but I don't see that happening. I do think that he could get more and more heavily involved. He's been getting close to 10 carries a game, and he's been racking up around 60 yards per game. So he is making the most out of his opportunity. And I think he could be getting involved more and more here in this Buccaneers offense. So he is probably someone that could maybe provide you a nice little surge at the tail end of the fantasy season. Another guy I would look at is Roschon Johnson for the Bears. It's weird with Roschon Johnson because last year he came in games and played really well. And then this year, I think he was on the practice squad for the Bears and they just elevated him. There's been a lot of noise about DeAndre Swift and his struggles. A lot of Bears fans are saying that they're making a mistake by paying him that much money because they just signed him to a huge contract. I would take a look at Roschon Johnson, maybe just as a stash. He might be someone that could emerge here later in the season. And Tank Bigsby for the Jaguars. He's probably a good handcuff option in case anything happens to ETN. I think Tank could be someone that looks pretty good in the Jaguar system. He's played well in certain spots, so I take a look at him. For wide receivers, Adam Thielen, I know he's hurt. He's probably going to be hurt for a couple of weeks, but I think once Andy Dalton and him are on the same offense, that seems to be Andy Dalton's first look is Adam Thielen. He played really well this past weekend, and then he got hurt with a hamstring injury. Juwan Jennings, if you just saw his last performance in fantasy, I think it's an automatic. You go and pick him up if he's available. Demario Douglas for the Patriots. He's been pretty heavily involved, probably the most involved receiver for the Patriots. So you might want to take a look at him. Some guy that was pretty surprising, I thought, in the Raiders game last week was Trey Tucker. That is someone that's kind of been talked about in training camp for the Raiders. He had a pretty nice little game against the Panthers. He might be getting involved more and more here in the offense for the Raiders. Michael Wilson for the Cardinals. He might be a good option. I think he scored a touchdown this last game. He seems to be like the guy that was kind of forgotten about in this offense with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming in. So you might want to take a look at Michael Wilson. Another guy that's kind of been forgotten about because he's been on IR, Josh Downs for the Colts. I know Alec Pierce has kind of been the guy that's been getting all the attention. I do think that Josh Downs, when he gets back, I think he's going to garner some attention. He's going to surprise some people. Josh Reynolds for the Broncos. He has kind of been Bo's favorite target so far. I know Sutton is there, but it kind of seems like he's going to Reynolds more. And Luke McCaffrey for Washington. He had some nice catches for Washington last night. I think he might be getting involved more and more in that offense. It seems like they're kind of juggling around who they want their wide receiver 2 to be. It could very well be Luke McCaffrey. You could also make a case for Noah Brown as well. Tight ends, Tyler Conklin. He had a nice performance on Thursday. He is probably my target for the waiver wire this week. I would love to add Tyler Conklin. Zach Ertz, he's from the Washington Commanders. I don't know if he's that great of a pickup, but if you need like a tight end too, he might be a guy for you. Jonnu Smith, he plays for the Dolphins. He probably isn't going to look very good right now, but you may want to stash him. I think when Tua was playing, he was getting like 8 targets in some games. So once Tua's back, maybe Jonnu Smith starts to emerge. He was a pretty good tight end a couple years ago. And the other tight end for Washington, I think you say his name is Ben Sinnott. He was getting some action last night. I think there might be a plan for him to be the starter for the Commanders later on in the season. What's going on?
Nothing. You said you got some action last
night. Well, he hasn't been running a ton of routes. He got some action in the game.
So mature. That's so funny. Just kidding.
Let's talk about the fantasy MVPs from this past weekend. We got some.
What the
fuck? We got some technical difficulties going on. It's okay.
I don't even know what I'm doing wrong, honestly. I think it's this stupid thing right here. Can I just delete this? How do I get rid of this thing? Oh my god. All right, go ahead. I'll figure it out.
I think we'll just figure it out for tomorrow. But
yeah.
It's okay. Let's talk about the fantasy MVPs. So, Nimmer, why don't you start? Who do you think the fantasy MVP from this past weekend was?
So you kind of touched on him earlier, and I think people kind of forgot about him because of just the juggernaut this team is, and that is Jennings. You have to put the man that has scored the most fantasy points within the season so far into the MVP category. Like I said, people just forgot about him. He honestly can be a wide receiver too in a lot of teams. Even the Steelers, if we would love Jennings to be our wide receiver too. That would be a great. And I think that he even caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I think he is Purdy's kind of safety net in a sense. Like he goes towards Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and all them, but then like when he really wants that 3rd and 4 or something like that, he always gets those catches. In the Super Bowl, he had 4 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. That's the biggest, and that's the biggest game of the year. And then in the postseason, this was yesterday, or this past week. He had 11 receptions for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. It doesn't look like the star players for the Niners are coming back, so I think this would be a great addition if he's still in the league. I mean, if he's still in the waiver wire. I'm sure everybody's trying to get him now, but if you're number one choice in the waiver wire, I definitely would grab him. So he's my fantasy MVP of week 3.
Yeah, it's funny because my MVP heading into the weekend was Ayuk, and I could
Yeah.
feel something going on with the Niners. Some big performance was coming out, and it was Juwan Jennings. Definitely a guy that I kind of forgot about. He is a interesting player. It is a cool story to see him play as well as he did this past weekend.
It just shows that like the Niners have such a stacked depth chart. Like 3 of your main pass catchers are out. Actually, 4 if you consider Christian McCaffrey. And then you still have somebody that has 3 touchdowns, 175 yards. Like, and this is your wide receiver 4, your 5th option. Like, it's wild.
The player I'm going to talk about is Saquon Barkley, and I think this guy has been a godsend for the Eagles. He has showed up for them in probably their most dire moments. This past weekend, he had a really long run that contributed to the win. I know that Dallas Goedert had a really big part in the win as well, but I think Saquon Barkley is starting to really garner so much attention in the backfield for defense. It's making it a lot harder for defenses to play and line up against the Eagles because Saquon is doing so many things for them. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He's one of the most explosive players in the league. He looks really, really good. And I've also been a fan of Saquon for a while now, so I'm happy to see him playing well.
Do you think that he's still going to do well without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith there?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe not like these 33-point games like he just put up, and I think he put up like a 34-point game the first week. Maybe it's, like a 25, 28-point game. But I think they're backup receivers with
Dotson.
Dotson and Covey, Dallas Goedert still there. I think they're still going to kind of operate well. And it's really going to have to start with Saquon, really. If the receivers aren't up to what they should be with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith there, you're probably going to have to resort to handing the ball off more to Saquon.
Yeah. Those are also good options for fantasy. I mean, for waiver wires. At least this week until A.J. Brown gets back. Jahan Dotson would be a great, as well as Dallas Goedert if he's still available.
Yeah. Some of the other highest scores, this guy was also on your team, Kyron Williams. He had 31.6 points. Josh Allen, again, 30.9 points. He looked amazing. He's got to be, right now, I think he's the MVP.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Like in the league.
Yeah. No, 100%. He has to be. But it's only week 3,
Yeah,
so and they really haven't played
true.
anybody, so we'll see once
Yeah,
they start playing really good teams, and see how he does then.
yeah. And then Derrick Henry with 30.4 games. So that was probably Henry's biggest game so far. That was an interesting game. I feel
Yeah,
like
it was weird.
that was a sediment to the Ravens are just not that good because they let him come back so close.
That's 3 weeks in a row that
Yeah.
they. Well, I guess the Chiefs they didn't come back, but like 2 weeks in a row where you have the lead going into the fourth quarter and they come back and win or almost win. Like, come on.
That that defense is not anywhere close to what it
Try
was last
telling
year.
you. I tried telling you. There's too many missing
Yeah.
pieces for that.
But let's get into the defense start of the week. We talked to you about this last week, I believe, and the week before. Um, we're going to kind of give you some defenses that, if you're in a situation where you're streaming defenses, this segment's for you. Um, I find myself in this situation looking for a defense to start based on a matchup. If my defense is lined up against someone that's like a big, powerful offense, I always kind of look to resort to someone else. So, Nimmer, let's start with you. Who do you got for your defense of the week?
I mean, honestly, this defense is actually surprisingly, and I didn't know this until Drew actually told me about this. Is they're in 20% of the leagues, 20% of the rosters within ESPN, and that is the Vikings. I mean, if they don't need to really prove anything else. Their defense is legit. Brian Flores has great schemes, and they're going against the Packers, which the Packers played the Colts, who are ranked 31st in defense according to Fox, and then Titans, who are ranked 5th. But the Titans, Will Levis just keeps giving the ball over to the other team, so you can't really count them. Um, and so I think with Will Levis, they're just gonna confuse him. They're gonna throw so many schemes at him that he has not seen. I mean, if you think about it, this really is his rookie year, right? I mean, I know he got drafted a couple years ago, but this is his true rookie year, where he's actually a starter for multiple games, and so he really hasn't seen too much. Different schemes, different looks, different. Oh, this person's blitzing. There's no way that he's gonna sprint 30 yards back to get to go to his covers, and then he hikes the ball and wait. He's like, oh wait, why is he backing up? So I think the Vikings are a great play this week.
They play the Packers.
Yeah. What did I
You
say?
said Will Levis?
Oh yeah. Well, with the Titans, I meant Malik Willis.
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know me. You know
That
me and
confused me.
names.
I guess there's a small chance that
They
Jordan
could be
Love's going to
traded.
play in that game.
Yeah, but even that's gonna be even worse because he's gonna be
I
like,
know. If I was the Packers, I wouldn't do that. I would
not
let
at all.
Malik play one more game. I think that's a tough game to come back to
Mm-hmm.
off an injury, playing the number one defense right now in fantasy. I know they're leading in other categories in real life, so they're a really good defense right now.
Yeah.
Definitely getting after the quarterback, so I would be kind of
Do you really think he's gonna
cautious.
come back though? I mean, they've literally been saying this week to week. Oh, Jordan Love might come back. Oh my God, Jordan Love practice. Is he coming back? Oh my God, blah blah blah. Blah. Like, why can't they just be like, all right, he's out? You know what I mean? It's kind of like the
Well,
Steelers. Like,
I,
that's one thing about the Steelers. It sucks. It's like, just say who's
yeah.
the starting quarterback. It's fine.
I saw 2 weeks ago. I saw a report that he was really eyeing the Vikings game to come back.
Mm.
So, and the second report came out this week that he'll try to suit up this week. So he might be in play.
Interesting.
I'm sure, in his mind, he's not thinking like, let me sit one more game, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
then I
that'll,
mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to look at their schedule. Like,
I will not be starting him if he
yeah,
plays.
because they have the Rams after this, then the Cardinals, and then the Texans.
Yeah.
And it's a long season. Like, why push that injury? I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
But my defense of the week is the Houston Texans. And if you notice, the past two defenses I've talked about starting, they've been playing the Jaguars. So this Texans team is lining up against the Jaguars. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's not going to be whatever that score was for the Bills. I stopped watching it, 30-7 or whatever it was when I stopped watching. I think they ended up putting 40 points on the Jags, and the Bills only let 10 points happen. We saw actually a Christian Kirk sighting for the first time this season, which was cool. But their offense, the Jaguars, their offense looks completely dysfunctional right now. I don't really understand. I think Doug Peterson 2 years ago was calling the plays, and then last year he gave up play calling. And I feel like their play calling looked worse last year, and now it looks bottom of the barrel. It looks terrible. So I think the Texans will take advantage of that, and they'll probably get some turnovers, and this will be a decent little play if you're looking for a defense to stream. They're another team that are available in a lot of leagues. Another one I would look at is the Dolphins. They're playing Will Levis this week. If you saw Will Levis play last week, he threw a pick six, Jair Alexander. My reasoning for maybe starting this Dolphins defense this week is why can't Jalen Ramsey do that to Will Levis? I think there's a possibility that could happen too. So that might be another defense you want to look at. I would probably pick the Texans over that defense, but you never really know, to be honest, in fantasy.
True.
That Vikings defense being ranked number one and only being owned in 20% of leagues, I'm sure that percentage is probably going to blow up by like 30% after
Seriously.
The waiver wire goes through
If not
tonight.
like 60, 70% of the league, like it's crazy.
But that is everything from us. We gave you a lot of information, gave you the waiver wire report. Hopefully you listen to us before that waiver wire starts tonight. You add them to your pending moves, and you wake up tomorrow morning and they're on your team. I know there's some psychopaths out there that wake up at 3 a.m. when the waiver wire opens up and they start adding players. That is something I know Darian does. He probably
Are you serious?
he probably
Wait, what?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, Darian does.
Oh,
that.
just to see who picked who and then goes and like picks. Oh.
Yeah, he gets to the waiver wire right away.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which I love fantasy, but I don't love it that much. I'm not setting an alarm to get up to look at the waiver wire.
That's crazy.
I don't know how much he does that, but I know last year he was telling me he was doing that. He texted me one time at like 4 a.m. and was like, "Yeah, I'm up looking at the waiver wire." And he was like, "I just grabbed this guy. What do you think?" And I was like, "Bro, what are you doing?"
Oh, that is hilarious. I didn't know. See, the waiver wire is so not confusing. Like, I don't really understand how it works completely. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 a.m. is wild. That's insane. Because like
crazy.
Yahoo
That's
does it like
insanity.
at 12 o'clock. I think Yahoo does it at like midnight. If I'm
I
not
think
mistaken.
ESPN's a little later.
Yeah.
I don't know what the exact. I've never stayed up to like look at that. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous.
You're also on the East Coast,
But
so it's a little different. Like for us, it's
Yeah.
12. For you, it's 3. So, but
Yeah.
it is a little different. But yeah.
Well, it might be earlier for me, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I've never stayed up that long to see when it opens up. You could ask Darian. I'm sure he knows.
Oh, I definitely will. When he comes on, I'll be like, "Hey, what time did you wake up today?"
with your stomach flu.
Yeah, right.
I'm
He's
sure
like
he's not
throwing
getting up
up while
tonight.
like, oh.
You should sleep you should sleep tonight
Poor Darian.
if he's got the stomach flu. That sounds terrible. But that is everything from us today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We will be back tomorrow. I'm hoping the graphics will be back in order. Looks like
Me too, man.
it looks like it was just out of whack.
Yeah, I don't know. Because sometimes it's like perfect. I go through the whole walkthrough right before the show, all that type of stuff, and then all of a sudden we go live and just everything goes to shit. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening. I'll try.
that's
my
Hollywood,
best.
baby.
Yeah.
That's everything from us, though. Have a good day. We will be back tomorrow. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, D&D Football Pod on all those platforms. We will be back tomorrow. Darian will be back tomorrow. Thank you. Have a good day.